Dickinson's poem "Much Madness is Divinest Sense" begins with a paradox. The reader might wonder if Dickinson is serious or if she is poking fun at someone or something. Is she enjoying her madness? Is she using madness to rise above a situation in which she feels uncomfortable or trapped? How can madness make sense? And why divinest sense? Does she mean divine in the sense of being godly, or is she referring to something that is merely delightful? The word discerning in the second line can be understood in a variety of ways. Discerning can mean discriminating in the sense of being cautious, or it can mean astute or wise. It can also mean sensitive or even shrewd. Depending on the reader's experience with or attitude toward madness, the poem can turn on the word discerning. The reader can interpret this poem as sarcastic, judgmental, or playful. Dickinson's poem offers space in which the reader can move around, bringing his or her emotions to the work and enjoying it not only through the author's view of life but on a personal level as well. In the third line, Dickinson almost completely turns the first line on its head, placing what was first last and vice versa. By twisting the phrases around between lines 1 and 3, Dickinson may simply be emphasizing her opening statement. She may also be saying that it does not take a lot of madness to make sense, because even the starkest madness is understandable. However, she is stating that too much sense is the harshest madness of all. With this line, there arises another question. What does she mean by sense? Is this common sense? Is she implying sanity or rationality? These questions about the meaning of sense to which she is referring actually make up the core of the whole poem. It is upon a definition of sense that the poem is written. It is lines 4 and 5 that offer a possible answer to these questions, in part at least. 'Tis the majority who defines sanity and sense. This does not mean that their definition is correct. Dickinson is also implying that since the majority has the rule or power as all, their definition is that which prevails. This might lead the reader's thoughts to the question, what if madness was in the majority? Then the next question might be, what is madness? The word assent implies abiding by. If the reader is familiar with details in Dickinson's life, such as her domineering father and the small town pressures of Christian conversion that Dickinson experienced in Amherst during her time, this word takes on stronger emotions. Dickinson was torn between her natural shyness, her sensitivity, and her innate sense of rebellion. Understanding these variant forces in her life helps the reader to appreciate the weight of the contradictions and emotional battles that she confronted. To give in to the dominant forces was to be declared sane, safe, and proper. If she assented, more than likely she was also left alone, something that she craved. This conflict is a universal one. It defines the relationship between parents and children, families and villages, tribes and states. To go along with the majority is to find peace, at least in some situations. But it is not always a comfortable peace. It is sometimes a peace that comes at a high price, the price of one's own private sanity. The use of the word demu is fascinating. The word means to object or protest. However, spelled with an additional E, demure, the word takes on nearly the opposite meaning of modest or shy. Demure is a word that is often used in describing Dickinson's personality. In the seventh line, however, she uses the word in contrast with assent. Immediately after using this word, she inserts a dash, which is sharp and pointed, almost weapon like. If a person opposes the majority, he or she is held at bay. Because to protest is to be more than just wrong, it is to be dangerous. The adjective that she uses in this line straightaway reflects back to the straight form of the dash that precedes it, and it implies immediacy. No trial by peers, no justification. Whoever balks at the majority rule will be considered worse than a traitor. They will be denied any rights and quickly taken away. Line 8 suggests that not only will the objector be declared insane and taken away, he or she will either be confined with chains or beaten with them. The word handled is again a bit ambiguous, but the sentiment is very clear. Either all freedoms will cease to exist or the perpetrator will feel pain. Whether chained or beaten, the picture is not very pleasant. It is so unpleasant that the poem suggests that one should take very seriously the attitude of madness because the consequences can be severe. The main theme of this poem deals with the argument over the definition of sanity and its opposite, madness. Sanity is an ambiguous term. It takes on its definition from its surroundings. What is considered sane in one society might be defined as crazy in another. The passage of time also alters the definition. Dickinson is also correct in pointing out that the majority classifies what is sane and what is not. In any group, rules of conduct are determined by the majority. Deviation from this standard cannot be tolerated if the majority of the group is to prevail. In some way, those who object must be ostracized, or else they will threaten the group's goals. Although the words sanity and madness have definite meanings recognized by modern readers, in Dickinson's time these concepts were often used when discussing women's rights or the attempts to suppress them. The individual versus the group is a perpetual battle for balance. For the creative spirit to expand and explore, the individual must be given the freedom to think differently from the traditions of the group. Innovations occur when imagination is confined. This said, it is easy to understand Dickinson's concerns for the needs of the individual. She was an artist and therefore had a unique way of thinking. The pressures on her to conform were powerful. Not only was her voice out of place in her community, but also her era. For her to be confined to the manners of the women who surrounded her would be akin to spiritual death. Though the majority prevailed, she had the strength of her individuality to help her maintain her vision. But it is likely that she was often told how dangerous it was. An implied theme of this poem is rebellion. Although Dickinson does not discuss whether she rebelled against the majority rule, the reader can infer that she is at least thinking about it. If she has contemplated the concepts behind the ambiguity of madness and sanity, then she has most likely considered going against the rules of the majority. From her opening statement that madness is divine, the reader can infer that Dickinson prefers madness to the strictures of sanity. She wrote in some of her letters that she rebelled against the religious conversions that most of her peers were going through. The rebellious spirit was definitely available to her. She also went against her father's wishes by reading books other than the Bible. To conclude that in this poem she was a willing partner to those who demurred does not require a great leap of assumption.